Oh, well, hello there, dear listeners. It is I, DJ Starsage, and I have been brought out to, well, somewhere interesting looking here. Matt has asked me to meet him outside this building that doesn't look like it's open. Matt, was this a restaurant or something?
Yeah, back in the 80s before the botulism outbreak in town. But yeah, oh, just don't touch anything. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let's get inside before it starts raining. You gotta get your keys there. Okay.
Yeah, I got a lot of keys, collected them. Yeah, gotta have these for work. Yep. Okay, oh, watch the rat. Sorry. Hmm?
Oh, hey. Okay.
Yeah. You leave them alone, they'll leave you alone.
Oh, well, just don't go naming them on me.
Mm-mm.
Um. Oh, well,
Huey, Dewey, and Louie, girl.
over there looks like a good place to sit down. I'm gonna dust off this old bench here. Okay, so as you heard the last time we got together, our first episode of the new season of Matinee Minutia, Road Tour Edition, I have traveled out here to the Heartland, and I'm just spending a little bit of time, trying to lay low there because they might be trying to put the hurt on me for the rent at the theater there, but. Anyways, Matt has been kind enough to let me hang out with him as he's showing me around town, and we're going to be talking about a movie from the 80s, Matt. What movie did you say we were talking about again?
Well, today, you and, well, whoever you're talking to, we're going to watch The Telephone.
Oh, and that was a Whoopi Goldberg movie, wasn't it?
1988 Whoopi Goldberg, and it's an absolutely amazing look into, well, I mean, how just an actor's piece. I mean, she carries pretty much the entire movie by herself.
It's almost a bit of a one-woman show. I mean, some others do show up after a while, but well,
Uh,
we
uh, uh,
we will get this discussion underway, and here comes the opening of the show. What do you get
when two movie
and TV nerds
wander aimlessly through
dead malls,
movie theaters, and drive-ins,
and talk about
their favorite shows along the way?
It's time
for Matinee Minutia
with your hosts, DJ
and Matt.
All right, so 1988 is when The Telephone came out.
It's about the time that the restaurant closed, too.
Oh, yeah. Remind me. Well, actually, I can't eat here because it's not open. But maybe later.
A few petrified French fries in the back, probably. You know what I mean, if you're really hungry.
I mean, maybe if I'm really desperate for entertainment, I will crack open one of these menus that seems to be glued shut. But
yeah.
So one of the things that we try to do is to give you a little taste of the times that we were living in when the program we're discussing was new and shiny. So this is going to be a little about events that happened in 1988. So these are the top events from the year of this film. In November of 88, Vice President George H.W. Bush Sr. was elected as the 41st President of the United States, defeating Democratic candidate Michael Dukakis. This was a significant political moment as Bush's election followed 2 terms of Ronnie Reagan's presidency, marking the continuation of a repugnant, oh, did I say that? Republican leadership in the White House. On December 21st, so close to Christmas, Pan Am Flight 103 exploded over Lockerbie, Scotland, after a bomb detonated on board. The bomb killed all 259 on the plane and 11 on the ground, leading to a long investigation and eventually conviction of Libyan agents. Now, I mean, we are a show about film and television, and who were these suspects in Back to the Future that were after the plutonium that powered the DeLorean? Say DeLorean 3 times fast. They were Libyans, but anyways, in 88, the Lockerbie, Scotland plane crash was suspected of these Libyan agents. They were profoundly impacting international aviation security and U.S.-Libyan relations. And in case you don't know, Libya is a country in the north of Africa. And also in 88, the Summer Olympics, they were held in Seoul, which is South Korea, marking a major global event. The games were significant for several reasons, including that fact that it was the first time South Korea had hosted, and it marked the Cold War's possessive. I can read. Final Olympics. And the games were also known for the doping scandal involving Canadian sprinter. I almost misread that as sphincter because these are my old prescription.
We know where your mind is.
Ben Johnson. Okay, even the name's dirty. Who was... it gets better. He was stripped of his gold medal after testing positive for steroids. So,
and 1988 is also the year that Lula May won the rhubarb pie competition, but she was also stripped of her medal because it turned out that she had laced it with pot.
Well, that's her secret ingredient.
No.
So Matt, in 88, we had some people that joined us on this ball of rock that's spinning around the sun. And some of them have made a name for themselves. Who came into the world in 88?
Well, there was Tiffany May, and she's the mayor's daughter. But we never really understood whether it was the mayor or the mayor's brother who was her. Wait, you're talking celebrities, right? Okay.
National celebrities.
Wait. I got this. Hold on. It's right here. All right. So we started with Emma Stone, and she was actually named one of the 100 most influential people of all time, even though I couldn't name anything that she did. And then there was Adele. You want to know what Adele did?
Well, I think Emma Stone, wasn't she in the Harry Potter movies? I may be wrong, but Adele.
Oh no, you're quite wrong. That was Emma Watson.
Right first name, wrong last name. She could have gotten married
the day after Maggie Smith died, and
well, we'll get back to Maggie Smith in a moment because there is a tie-in here today.
That is true.
You're talking about Adele. And,
yes, and you know what she did? She was a singer.
Mm-hmm.
And she got 16 Grammys, 12 Brit Awards, an Academy Award, a Primetime Emmy, and a Golden Globe.
I have a special
memory.
And
then she retired.
I have a special memory associated with Adele. Want to hear it? It's honest. It's honest. I promise.
Was it like the couch thing with the cat last time? I don't know.
No. It's actually very hopeful. See, one side of my family is rather long-lived, so it gives me hope for the future for myself. Because they say you inherit your hair from your mom's father, so your maternal grandfather's where you get your hairline from. Anyways, I was at my sister's wedding. Some 13 years ago now. And my 90-something great uncle was out on the dance floor with 20-something young ladies dancing to a cover of a song by Adele. And of course, it was Rumor Has It, which was originally a song from when this man was much younger. So, he was literally having a flashback moment on the dance floor, being able to, get down with the music with a song that was probably out when he was a young man. originally.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we have another celebrity.
Yes, we have Robbie Amell, who was played Steven Johnson in the CW series The Tomorrow People. And then we have Zoe Kravitz, who she was in X-Men First Class, the Divergent films, and Fantastic Beasts films. And yeah, another Maggie Smith tie-in, kind of, sort of, in a roundabout way. And then we have Haley Joe Osment, who saw dead people in Sixth Sense. And one more, Vanessa Hudgens.
Mm-hmm.
Hudgens and Huggins. I don't know. Anyway, but she was in High School Musical.
Now, I know that you just kind of bear a resemblance to that famous author guy, Matt, and you're not actually him. But, because Matt does that show, Chubs Gone Wild, I thought I would give an honorable look back on Haley Joel Osment because, he's most certainly a young man nowadays. And I have heard and seen pictures of how he's grown up. And let's just say, that for those of you who enjoy full-size figure people, he's kind of easy on the eyes.
He is a chub who went wild. That is true, and no one's complaining.
Little snack with your trip to the woods, Miss Goldilocks. Okay, so in '88. Because The Telephone was a film, it was a movie, went to the theaters way before we rented movies, although you could rent this eventually. But, you used to have to actually pay for popcorn and a ticket to see things. And in '88, some of the movies that did well in the box office were things like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which even to this day, people still talk about because it was so good that everybody says they should have made a sequel, but my
nobody needed a sequel of that,
right? But the best parts of it, of course, were the voices behind the scenes because you had Kathleen Turner, who was Jessica Rabbit, and then of course Bob Hoskins, who appeared live on screen as himself.
Another chub who went wild. Yeah.
Yes. He was a talent to behold. I enjoyed many of his films. Now, Coming to America came out in '88, and that was Eddie Murphy's big break on the silver screen.
Coming to America. Yep.
They made a sequel the other year. I haven't watched it yet.
It's the third. It's the third one, I believe.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
And also in '88 was a movie we talked about in Matinee Minutia. Early on, in fact. I think it was our second season, Good Morning Vietnam.
Which has a tie-in to,
Yeah, because one of our leading actors, Whoopi Goldberg, was a contemporary with the lead in Good Morning Vietnam, Mr. Robin Williams. And in '88, I want to say this was her first film. Penny Marshall directed Big, which was Tom Hanks' major breakthrough to the silver screen. He transitioned from being on television with shows like Bosom Buddies, and he made it onto this big screen with Big.
I love that movie. It was so innovative.
And innocent. They could have taken things in different directions. They didn't. He fell in love with a woman, but they didn't take it too far. And it was very charming the way that he still longed to be in his neighborhood with his mom. So So,
but it just showcased. It was one of the first ones that really showcased that Tom Hanks could do more than just silly broad comedy, because there were some really genuine emotional moments in this one.
Oh, yes. So also in '88, it was a sequel, Crocodile Dundee 2. And I think that I think he came to LA in that movie. I don't remember entirely, but And then we had Three Men and a Baby, which, I think
Steve Guttenberg.
we were just talking about him, and Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck.
And who was the third guy? I'm forgetting right now.
Nobody cares. You got the other two.
I mean,
I'll look it up. But yeah.
Did you ever? Were you one of those people that used?
Go ahead.
I was just say, were you one of those people that watched Three Men and a Baby and paused it because there had been stories of how somebody had died and their ghost appeared in the movie?
Yeah, no, that wasn't me. If I paused the movie, it was probably because one of the actors was shirtless. But Ted Danson was the
Danson.
Yeah. So
okay.
yes, somebody that's forgettable. And Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg, they
were a thing for a while. Yeah. But yeah, Three Men and a Baby, they apparently had a cardboard cutout or something that was on the set in the studio, and somebody thought it would be funny to put it in the window of the apartment. And so it was basically just one of those things, kind of like watching these period shows like Game of Thrones, where you'll see on the set they forgot to remove someone's coffee cup.
Oh yeah.
So it was a cardboard cutout, and everyone thought, "Oh my God, there's a ghost!" But Bruce Willis came to the box office in his biggest smash at the time, Die Hard,
which is not a Christmas movie.
Correct. Just takes place at the time, and the dad from Family Matters was the security guard, and then Cher had a big smash at the box office with Moonstruck, which paired her with Nicolas Cage, wasn't it?
Moonstruck was with Nicolas Cage. Yes, snap out of it. Oh, but you're forgetting also that Die Hard had.
Yes, one of my favorites.
It had Snape in it.
Yeah,
and Snape was with Maggie Smith, who was also in a movie with Whoopi Goldberg. So it all ties together.
I mean, it's a dish with bacon in it.
It is definitely Kevin Bacon back when he was like super hot. Just saying.
And then in 88, we also had a man who decided to put on pants because his big breakout role was Risky Business, and he came back to us in Cocktail. That of course is Tom Cruise before he started wearing the tinfoil hat, and Kim.
Was it?
And then before he had that big divorce with his Australian wife there. And then
his beard, yeah.
And then, of course, in 88, we had a film that made a big success for Mr. Michael Keaton, who had not yet put on the Batman suit. And, and he has a brother who's actually from my part of New York. So, that's one of those celebrity sightings that you get once in a while. And who was that also? Oh, yeah. Goldie Hawn is supposed to be getting an award by the people at Eastman, the George Eastman House, which is a big local history museum to photography, and George Eastman, the man who founded the Kodak Camera Company. Goldie is receiving an award for her career achievements. So,
that's pretty cool. So Beetlejuice came out, and of course we have the new Beetlejuice that just came out. And Beetlejuice stars Winona Ryder, who is in Girl Interrupted or whatever it was, with Whoopi. It all goes back. It all goes back to this movie. This movie is 7 Degrees of Whoopi Goldberg.
I mean, they were all making Whoopi. So Matt,
Yeah.
you've been known to take a liking to being behind the camera and being part of a theater environment. Tell us a bit about the guy.
That was never proved.
Tell us about the guy who had the vision for this, who was going to be the storyteller, the director.
Well, the director of this film has a very unusual name. It's Rip Torn. Which, yeah, that's a tough one. Anyway, he was born in 1931, and which is about the time that this town was founded. And he was a very versatile American actor and director whose career spanned like 6 decades. And he was born in Temple, Texas, studied acting at the University of Texas. No judgment. And then he went into the Korean War, and then he achieved Academy Award nomination for Cross Creek and won an Emmy for his role as Artie on The Larry Sanders Show. And he appeared in notable films such as King of Kings, which was back in 1961, The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1976, very pivotal film, and then the Men in Black series in 97 and 2002.
Mm-hmm.
So in his personal life, he had 3 marriages and 6 kids.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was a busy guy on top of making films.
Mm-hmm.
And despite, personal success, he faced legal troubles later in life, including a highly publicized 2010 arrest for possession of a gun while intoxicated.
Oh.
Obviously, he was not in Texas at that point because that's kind of an obligation there. Anyway, but he died actually in 2019. He was 88 and he had Alzheimer's disease. But his legacy endures through, many memorable roles in film and television, and a lot of work on this film.
Now, a moment ago, you mentioned The Man Who Fell to Earth in 76. Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't that star David Bowie?
Yes, it did.
Oh.
And it was a film that made you go, huh. And then later on, about a month later, you thought of it again and went, huh. Yeah, it's still considered a very prominent must-watch film.
Mm-hmm.
So he really, and like the Larry Sanders Show and King of Kings. I mean, these are movies and television shows that really are listed as defining cultural moments for the times that they were in. So, I mean, he really was, very part of our cultural history.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very much so.
I will have to steer back to The Man Who Fell to Earth because David Bowie, along with George Michael, are 2 very influential male figures in my burgeoning ute.
Well, that explains a lot, actually.
Alrighty, so we do eventually get around to talking about the people that are actually in the movie, and so we're going to tell you a little bit about the leading lady. Miss Whoopi Goldberg played Vashti Blue. Now, say what you want, that was her character's name. I do not know for a fact that was her character's real name, because who doesn't come up with a pen name, especially when you are an actor, which is what her character is supposed to be in the telephone. She's an aspiring actor who is out of work. So what reason would there be for her to have the real name of Vashti Blue? So Miss Whoopi Goldberg, which that herself is not her real name either, don't you know?
What?
She was born Miss Karen Elaine Johnson. There's that Johnson again. And it was on November 13th in 55. So she was just a little girl when we had the phenomenon of Camelot with JFK in the White House. She's a multi-talented entertainer known for her acting, comedy, writing, and television hosting, which she's done for more than 10 years on The View. I think it's more like 17. I can't believe that. She is one of the few individuals to achieve the prestigious EGOT. No, I'm not using phraseology from the Music Man. EGOT is actually a name given to people who have achieved Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award. EGOT. Goldberg began her career on stage with her one-woman show, which earned her a Grammy for Best Comedy Album. So in the early days of her career, she got discovered and was part of one of the first HBO specials for comedy. It was actually a charity fundraiser. I'm forgetting the name right now. But let's see.
Whoopi Goldberg on Broadway.
Yes, her breakthrough in film came with The Color Purple in '85, where she won a Golden Globe for her portrayal of Celie. And she later won an Academy Award for her role in Ghost, which of course had up-and-coming Demi Moore, who's no longer in the Brat Pack, by the way, at that time. And Mr. Patrick Swayze looks nice, so nice shirtless.
Yes.
But beyond acting, Goldberg had co-hosted The View, which I was just talking about, since 2007. So 17 years now, people. Have you caught it yet? Winning a Daytime Emmy Award. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not watching TV during the day. But a passionate advocate for LGBT rights and AIDS awareness, Goldberg has also been honored as a Disney legend for her contributions to entertainment. She's worked with the Muppets a few times, and she has 212 acting credits in Sister Act 2, which, of course, had Dame Maggie Smith in it. Earned her the title of the highest paid actress in films. Now, before we go on, Matt, I've been following all these memes and things on social media because it should be noted we just recently lost Miss Dame Maggie Smith. She was in her later years, so it was natural causes, but she had a long and celebrated career. Can you think of a single favorite Maggie Smith moment?
A favorite moment of Maggie Smith. You know what? All of them. Yeah. There just are no wrong Maggie Smith moments.
I mean, I won't claim that I one-upped you or anything. I saw another meme and somebody quoted their favorite. So here you go. Somebody else's favorite that they shared was from the first Sister Act movie when Whoopi's character, and I'm forgetting her full name, was brought to the Mother Superior by the bishop, and he's
Dolores.
Dolores Van Cartier, because you got to remember the jewelry part. The Maggie Smith's character was introduced to Whoopi's character Dolores by the bishop. And he was actually played by someone important, too, from the 80s. He was the boss in My Stepmother's an Alien with Dan Aykroyd. Anyways, he reminded her that she had taken a vow of hospitality, and she said, I lied. So that was a favorite moment of Dame Maggie Smith's career that someone else shared on the web there. So... all right.
She was just a brilliant person.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about her.
So, this is an 80s film, so we'll have a little interjection here. A snippet from a band that I don't normally listen to because they have insensitive lyrics.
That's true. It's one of the reasons I don't listen to them anymore.
So one of the things that we try to expose our listeners to is the fact that many programs, many shows were originally on paper because someone had to write the story, and they often make it based upon the formula of a play. So the telephone, as presented to you by Matinee Minutia Road Tour Edition, Act 1, the exposition, which in layman's terms is the intro. An unemployed and extremely bitter, I probably know her, actress uses her telephone to vent her
Yes, those.
frustrations on friends and enemies alike. I mean, now we just do it through text, but back then you could actually hang up on people.
Yeah.
And
or not pick up, period.
Right. And let me check. I'll edit this out. We're probably at about the halfway mark here, so I'll just fade us into static. So we're going to take a break for a momentato, and we're going to have a little nostalgia because, entertainment and jingles. Oh, wrong one. Where's my static? So with your help, we will get into the groove of just picking some fun commercials from the time frame. So I don't know if you got to hear what I released, but I did 3 little commercials, which I figure is a good ripe number, 3. And I did a smoking toothpaste. I did AT&T, and I forgot what a snack chip that they don't make anymore. So
snack chips.
Any discontinued products are great because
yeah, those are the best.
People don't remember them, and you get them to scratch their head and say, "Huh? I don't remember that." So, okay, so we're back, and so we've introduced you to the leading lady in this cast, and the telephone is pretty much a one-woman show, but eventually some other characters do get to share the scene. Matt, there's a character that came into the story, and what was he? He was her former agent, right?
I believe so, yes. And it was played by Elliot Gould. And it's just the whole film is really interesting. We'll talk a little bit about why later too, but it is essentially a one-woman show, and then all of a sudden another person will show up for a few minutes. And in this case, Elliot Gould, who was one of the biggest or bigger names at the time, actually possibly bigger than Whoopi, because he'd been around for quite a while. But he was actually born Elliot Goldstein, not Gould. Yes. And but he was born in 1938 in Brooklyn, New York, and his career spanned over 7 decades across film. Yeah. Television, theater, he did it all. And he got popular very early on with his Academy Award nominated role in Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. And let's just say that took place in 1969 for a reason. Then he went on to star as Captain Trapper John McIntyre in Robert Altman's MASH, the movie in 1970. You think you know the TV show? You don't know the TV show unless you watch that movie. And let me tell you, it's a hard movie to get through.
And, if you can't remember which one you've seen, if Donald Sutherland was in it, that was the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So, he didn't take 10 years of television. But, it's a very interesting movie. It was very kind of culturally significant of our time because it was, we're about to go through all the Vietnam, and then we're rehashing Korea. Anyway, it actually he earned a BAFTA and a Golden Globe nomination for that. His collaboration with the same director, Robert Altman, continued in other films like The Long Goodbye from 1973, California Split, which was in 1974, And then on television, of course, he played Jack Geller on Friends. So, he was Monica's father, um, and Ross's father as well, apparently, allegedly.
Mhm.
And he also had multiple hosting appearances on Saturday Night Live. He was actually, I think, part of the that whole five times the guest generation thing.
Mm.
And actually, in more recent work, he's been in the Oceans film series, guest appearances in Grace and Frankie and the Kaminsky Method. I mean, he's up there, but he's still going strong and doing really well. He actually had his own TV show for a short time, where it was something to do with like nurses or TV show, that type of thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, and we won't even talk about some of the people that he was married to.
Did he break Rip Torn's record?
Actually, wasn't. Now, I didn't actually notice, but I think, let me look it up real quick. Elliot Gould, because I think he was married to a very, very famous actress. Named. Yes? Can you guess? Barbara Streisand.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, one of the Queen divas.
Oh.
Barbara Streisand. He was her husband for quite some time.
Interesting. I can't name a lot of Elliot Gould films off the top of my head, but I want to say I remember when I was a young kid, he was in one of the George Burns movies where he played God. And I think
yes,
Elliot Gould was either, well, he wasn't the devil, but he was one of the supporting cast members. Now, I know that this is not Elliot Gould, or at least I don't think so. But after the era of the TV movies came about and we did the reunions of the Brady Bunch, they had a short-lived TV series about the Brady daughters being Brady brides. And I could have sworn that one of the Brady daughters married Elliot Gould, or at least if it wasn't him, it's kind of like, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name right now, but the father and son team that were in Schitt's Creek, it kind of reminds me of that. If that's not Elliot Gould, it's got to be his son, because the spitting image. So, bringing us into Act 2, the meat and the sandwich here. It's the complication. So, Vashti Blue has been hanging out in her apartment. She's a actress who's out of work, and she spends the whole show, this story, either on the phone or preparing to be on the phone, getting into the moment. And she also comes up with reasons to be on the phone. She at one point in time calls the drugstore to get cigarettes because she's out. And, she's looking through what's in her cupboards and everything. So the complication, Rodney, played by Elliot Gould, arrives at her apartment door. Now, this is New York City, mind you. So, it is not a quiet world outside of Vashti Blue's door. You're constantly hearing sounds from the streets. People are getting roughed up, to put it mildly. And her neighbors are not happy with her being loud. Rodney shows up at her door, basically invites himself in, and he's as good as her ex, because in days like this, or in these times where women are so mistreated in the great machine that is Hollywood, you just know that they've seen each other without clothes. But the reality begins to creep in. Vashti has gotten a call or a notice that her phone bill is late. And I don't know if you took notice or took to heart, but the person who left her the message on her answering machine, that's also part of the series of events, and this is that she routinely goes back and she listens to messages on her answering machine. One of them is from the phone company, and I can't remember the name that the person gave, but it was certainly made up. It was like Mrs. Stofers or something like that. And it just reminds me of some of my past roles where I've worked for companies that had me answering phones. The rule of thumb is that if your boss knows that you're giving a fake name, it's okay, but you just have to make sure they know, because, who wants to give out their real name when you're pissing off people all day?
Well, you stand up in front of a microphone long enough. Just saying. But yeah, it's very it's actually very interesting the way that they interact. They place the phone messages and stuff that she listens to, and yeah.
Because one of the voice messages that's left is from a ex-boyfriend, and she is convinced that one of the other messages that she has been left on her machine, because that's what we called it in those days. You had an actual physical box sitting next to your physical telephone, and you had to press buttons to play the recording. So there is a message that was left by some random man, and it was so short that she couldn't be sure of who it was because they didn't leave their name. But she obsesses with playing it back over and over again because she thinks that it's her ex-boyfriend who left her, I think.
Well, and also the other thing that drives this is that being an actress, you need your phone and your answering machine to get work. You have to be there so that you can, and so that's another thing that drives this, is that she has to have, her telephone so that she can get parts, get called by her agent.
And just like the last episode of the last season, our season finale on Matinee Minutia, we talked about the 70s film with Jane Fonda, Clute. And she was a sex worker, and in that day and age, that was the reality of your existence. You had to be near your phone to get work.
Yeah, you had to know who wanted your clue.
So, another entrance into the cast, but brief, was Mr. John Hurd. Now, John Hurd is somebody that has often played characters in supporting roles, and you might have recognized him as the dad in Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin. But in this, he played the telephone guy. So he was, the guy the phone company sent out. And, well, there are reasons that he got sent out because, she owed money. And, well, we'll get to that. John Hurd was an American actor known for his versatile performances in film. He made his film debut in Between the Lines and appeared in several successful movies, including Heartbeat, Cutter's Way, Cat People, a personal favorite of mine, Beaches with Bette Midler, and Deceived. John Hurd was born in March of 1946 in Washington, D.C. He built a respected career in Hollywood over the years, and sadly, more recently, we lost him in 2017 at the age of 71 in Palo Alto. Now, here's also an interesting tie-in, Matt. Now, it doesn't have to do with Whoopi Goldberg, but it does have to do with a movie we talked about that came out in 1988. John Hurd was in Big with Tom Hanks. He was one of the people that worked in The Office.
I did not know that.
Yeah, John Hurd and the circle of friends that would eventually include Whoopi Goldberg. And, since we've talked about the third member of the cast in this one-woman show, we're now going to rip off the Band-Aid and maybe try to do it a little gently because, you might actually decide you want to watch The Telephone because, for goodness sakes, it was a big film, a big part for Whoopi and the beginnings of her career. So, Matt, in Act 3, The Resolution, the telephone guy shows up. What did he show up to do, though, Matt?
Well, he showed up to repossess her phone because she was very, very, very overdue with that. And he came in and he poked fun at her not having electricity and plugging in, illegal wiring and all sorts of things, and still having a Christmas tree up, even though it was months later. And well, then he tried to take her phone away from her.
And that was
that didn't go so well.
It didn't. We'll have to leave it to you, dear listener, to draw your own conclusions on this, because maybe I'd like to think that we inspire you. Maybe, I don't know. That might be too big a word, but might motivate you to go down some of these avenues and trails that we go. So, on that note, that the phone guy showed up to pick up her phone. Maybe you didn't know, but when this movie was made, the phone company in New York City at the time went by the name Bell Atlantic. Now, in more recent years, it's Verizon.
One ringy-dingy.
Mm-hmm. In 1988, though, this is just a handful of years after the government told AT&T that they were a monopoly, so that got all busted up. Bell Atlantic was still renting phones. You didn't have to have your own phone. You didn't have to go to Walgreens or whatever existed at the time, probably Woolworths. You didn't pick up your favorite color phone because you could rent it from the phone company. It was a charge on top of your monthly services, like a rent-to-own situation. But they called them an instrument because, you could use many different things with a phone line, supposedly. But up until 1970, telephones were previously hardwired, meaning you could not take the jack out, because if there was something wrong with the phone, you were going to call your phone company for them to send the repair person out. They didn't want you to try to do it yourself. That included the jack in the wall, too. That was hardwired. You could not take that apart. And if you did, you were damaging phone company property. So you could have you could be denied service. And it wasn't as easily replaced. Now, customers had to use the phone company's equipment before the 70s there. You could not use your own phone, so you were forced to pay the phone company for the line and the phone before the 70s.
That's insane. I ran up phone bills. I got to tell you.
Well, in this day and age where we have cell phones and you have unlimited long distance and all that.
Yeah.
When
long distance.
When I was a kid and we were on dial-up, I racked up phone bills because you had to have a number to dial to get on your service, and it was very confusing at the time because you used to have to look in the front pages of your phone book for you to know what towns that you were allowed to call on your plan with the phone company. Otherwise,
I remember that.
Otherwise, it would be considered a long distance call. So, in that day, when the internet was new, early 90s, I had some numbers for my service, and they were in my area code. Mom and Dad had paid for a special calling plan. All of the numbers in our area code were supposed to be a local call. However, it's just like any contract. There's fine print. And some of that fine print said, except for these exchanges, and an exchange is just a big name for these towns. Because back in the day, you used to have Klondike 452 or whatever. And those three digits that are in the middle of your phone number in the USA, That's your exchange. That's your neighborhood, if you will. Hubby grew up in a larger town than I did. He actually grew up in a city, and people's phone numbers literally were their house number as the last 4 digits of their phone number.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so talk about
Huh.
easy invasion of privacy there. But
Mm.
anyways, so yeah, it was supposed to be anything in that area code was a local call, but I didn't realize that there were some exchanges that weren't part of that. And guess who racked up a phone bill?
Yeah, I most of my friends, I didn't have any local friends when I was a teen. So most of my friends were in like pen pals in Texas and Massachusetts, and well, let's just say that there were a couple times when $600 bills came in, and yeah, I the phone was shut off, and I was thoroughly, completely punished, and made to feel like absolute horrible person, which, dumb kid as I was. And then when we were on AOL in the very early days, one of the things is you had a main account at your house that you could sign on to, and it was part of your monthly payment. But if you signed on to the same account at a different number, they charged you 10 cents a minute.
Oh.
And yeah, so signing on to check my email or something got me in trouble a few times. So yeah, let's just say that now that we have free, we pay one monthly fee, and we get all that stuff for free that back then we had to pay so much for. It's just crazy.
Well, let's just say that it sounds like the internet was okay in your house, but in my church-going house, Mom did not want to have anything to do with the internet. There was a phone line plugged into the computer, but she didn't want internet. But I was the naughty little boy in those days. Mom and Dad kept all the bills in the filing cabinet, and I may or may not have found credit card numbers in those days.
Oh, well, now that's a little bit more naughty than I ventured into. But yeah, and let's not forget the 976 party line.
Oh yes.
Hey, if you want to make friends and you just call okay, and consider 1988, $1 a minute. Like if you were like $1 a minute now, you'd be like, well, that's pretty pricey.
Yeah.
But $1 or $2 for the first minute or whatever back in 1988. I mean, that was like rich people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's like $5 a minute.
Yeah, pretty much. And so there was at least one of those that I called and said, "Oh, I don't know how my son did that. Oh, it must be some mistake." And they're like, "Well, you get one forgiveness, and after that, you have to pay." So I called it once and never again.
You never called Miss Cleo, did you?
No.
My big thing in those days used to be looking up toll-free numbers, because I was one of those kids that would write or call companies to have catalogs sent to me, because if you got something in the mail, you were important. I used to get car brochures and things. So
I used to get the Writer's Digest, and it was this great big thick book, and it had every publisher of newspapers, magazines, books, everything else in it, and I would skim it for anything that was LGBT. Well, back then it was just gay. There was no, and I would ask for free copies of like everything I could possibly get from them.
I bet you know what a Damron guide is.
Oh yeah, I remember those. I have like one of them. Of course, I'm like, I never use it, but I have it. And back then, especially when you're like 16, 17 and you're in the closet, like anything you can get your hands on is just like, some validation that you're not alone. Yeah.
We're all about the trivia here on Matinee Minutia. We sound smart when we tell you about, what Whoopi liked to eat at craft services. Not that we know, but somebody probably fished her sandwich out. So there's a few things you might not know about this movie, some trivia, and I just told you about the stage or the status of what it was like to have a phone probably during this time. Now I don't know about you, but that was a pretty snazzy phone. That was like Zebra or something, and
Yes.
I don't think I had a phone like that when I
Nope.
was that young. But I mean, it was mom and dad's. Even when I moved out on my own, I never had anything that fancy. So, Matt, what else can you tell us about the movie there?
Well, there's a little bit of trivia here, but let's not forget the remaining cast, which included actors like Don Blakely, James Victor, Hervé Villachet from Fantasy Island, Danny Torn, who was the wife of the director, no nepotism there, Amy Wright and Severn Dorden, Lena Chu, Ronald J. Stallings. Anyway, the main thing that I'm saying is that a lot of these people didn't actually appear in the film. They were the ones that left the messages on the answering machine.
Oh.
And so there was when it's showing this entire cast, and I'm like, there were 3 people in that thing, yeah, there were actually, a number of just voice parts, but actual trivia. So let me tell you, girl, when this film was made, NYC's telephone company, you just talked about that part, right?
Right.
So I won't talk about that part since you already talked about it.
Rewound.
Anyway, in 1988, Rip Torn directed The Telephone, based on the screenplay by Terry Southern and Harry Nilsson. Sorry. The film about an unstable girl. Oh, okay. Here's the part. I was like, wait a minute. We already talked about that. Okay. So anyway, an unstable, out-of-work actor, and it was originally written for Robin Williams. And after he basically said, no, thank you, Whoopi Goldberg got the lead role. And I mean, I think the part was great for her, but I don't know. I can see Robin doing a part like that, but the next little bit, if you don't mind me jumping into just this next one here.
Well, kind of like that rat that just went across my foot.
Oh yeah. Oh well, we'll give it for lunch later. So during the film, Torn, the director, really struggled with Whoopi's tendency to kind of improvise, and asked her to really stick to the script, and she just kept kind of going off and doing her own little thing here and there. And the studio actually backed Goldberg and allowed her to replace Torn's chosen cinematographer with her husband. But if he had a problem with her going off script and improvising, imagine how crazy he would have gone with Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah, right. The man that they needed people to know different languages because he tried to swear in them on Mork and Mindy.
Yes, I mean, but that's what he was notorious for, of doing this scene and just completely improvising something off the cuff. And Torrance having trouble with Whoopi doing that. I mean, girl, he would have been snorting coke after with Robin Williams doing that. Anyway,
at certain points in their careers, they were both on the glass coffee table.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And but her replacing the cinematographer with her husband, I mean. I mean,
anyway. he knew how to follow her. We don't know if there was a restraining order later, but
hey, nobody's saying anything.
But yeah,
By
something.
the way, if somebody does come to the door,
Uh,
just under the table, be quiet. Okay, continue.
well, one of the things that should be noted was that not only did they change the cast from the original plan from Robin Williams to being Whoopi, but after the film was made, Whoopi was a little self-conscious about this because it may not have been her best work. She may have actually been climbing out of the hole and deciding she needed to go to rehab. But she sued the studio because she wanted the rights to the final cut of the movie. And unfortunately, they didn't file in her favor.
Yeah.
So, yes, she had a zebra phone, and you may have already mentioned this, but Elliot Gould's character, Rodney, entered her apartment with a lady on his arm who was the next hot thing. And that was actually played by Rip Torn's wife.
Danae.
Yes.
Yes.
She was Miss Honeybox.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Wasn't her name Honeybox? Okay.
A box with an E, because, we have to spell things differently. But I felt that was the best part of the movie. There was a point in the movie where Vashti, which is Whoopi's character, was watching a recording, a tape, which was, high technology back then, watching a taping of one of her own shows. Now, it actually at moments looked like the HBO special that she did with Robin Williams and so many others. Billy Crystal, too, I think, was an HBO comic at the time. But she's watching some of her material, and her former agent doesn't care for it because he's her former agent. But the young lady that's on his arm has asked for him to be quiet because she wants to see the video, and she actually likes the material because Whoopi's character is using female comedy. She's talking about cycles and periods and hormones and stuff, and she's just a riot to her because in 1988 there are not too many comics who are not men on the spotlight.
Right. And there really wasn't. I mean, back in the 1988, there was Roseanne Barr. There was
going to be Rosie soon.
Yeah. There was Ellen DeGeneres was just starting to, try to get her own. Basically the women comedians of that time were, lesbians.
Sandra Bernhardt.
Sandra Bernhardt. There was Paula Poundstone.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, lesbians. Happily, and I loved them all. I did, but except for Roseanne. Roseanne, I loved at the time because she spoke for, kind of the lower, like poor people. I mean, she was like the common person. I mean, that's one of the reasons why her show was so wonderful. It was like a real family struggling to just make it until last season when it went completely off the rails and blah 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 blah. So but in those days it was really something to be a woman comedian that got somewhere and did something.
And that reminds me, one of the first movies that I saw with a woman doing comedy was not even played by a woman comic. Do you remember? I'm forgetting the name of it, but Tom Hanks was in it with Sally Fields, and she was a housewife who decided to do stand-up comedy.
That is vaguely familiar.
I'm going to look up the name because it would be good for us to at least talk about or say the name here. So let's see. Let's see. Sally.
We had some little way to look things up on the fly.
Right, and pick my brain. That gets messy sometimes though. But let's see. When in the 80s, It was not Norma Ray. Wasn't Places in the Heart. Duh. It was Punchline. And actually
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Punchline actually came out in 88 also. So there's a little bit of irony for you.
Well, there you go. There's a little connection. Was Maggie Smith in it?
I mean, she could have been in her dressing room.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. We'll just pretend that happened, and
yeah. So we are at the part of the show where actually you better make sure you lock up there, Matt. We don't want the rats getting out. We've managed to make our way back to Matt's truck here and looking for some snacks in the glove box, because that's where you look for things. And we're going to talk about something you might enjoy if you like films like The Telephone. I'm going to recommend something that I often do, something I haven't seen yet, but I think I want to watch it. This is a film from 2005 called The Ape, and it's a comedy drama starring James Franco. Now, okay, you could take him or leave him. I don't consider him to be the brightest star in the sky, but he certainly has his realm of talent. I thoroughly enjoyed The Great and Powerful Oz, where he played a young wizard in that. Traveling salesman, of course, turned wizard.
You're a wizard, James.
Mm-hmm. So in The Ape in 2005, James Franco plays a young writer who's nearing a mental breakdown caused by his family and boss. Who else causes that? Moves into an apartment occupied by a walking, talking, foul-mouthed ape. No, Ruth Gordon's not in this. And he's in a Hawaiian shirt with Converse high tops. Oh, well, shout out to the vice president there. But 2005's The Ape with James Franco might be just up your alley if you like The Telephone.
Well, I will recommend to. I still don't know who you're talking to. I will recommend The Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe, where Lily Tomlin reprises her role in the 1985 Broadway hit for this feature film version of her comedic one-man show. She basically plays 12 unique characters, including Trudy, a bag lady who advises extraterrestrials about life on Earth, Brandy and Tina, two prostitutes, and Chrissy, the
big word.
Yeah, the big word there. Indefatigable. Basically, she don't get tired. Aerobics instructor. From adolescent punk rocker to middle-aged farm wife, Tomlin uses a wide variety of different voices to convey a universal message. And it's a lot like, actually, Whoopi Goldberg's one-man Broadway show, where she plays 4 or 5 different characters, and really kind of gives some insight to life and actually with this one, to women's lives. So it's just absolutely an amazing, powerful performance, and no wonder that she won so many awards for it.
And nobody, of course, can top Lily Tomlin's career, because she
Except
is
her partner.
Right. So happy together.
When she came out, I was so happy.
Yes. I mean, I say this being a happily married man of 13 years, So we've already, snuck out of the building here, and thankfully this place wasn't going to check for tickets. So you'll just have to see where we end up the next time we hang out, because there's lots of places that Matt hasn't shown me around this old armpit of hell.
You ever been to an abandoned mall?
Oh, well, not on purpose. I think I got locked into one once. So, Matt, if you would, kind sir, now that we're back in your truck and, to get all that junk in the glove box, grab that little game board piece, because that's how we figure out what's coming up next.
All righty.
Here we go. Okay, what did that
I'm a
land
doctor.
on? Mystery
right.
date.
Yeah, well, I game of life. But okay, so next time on Matinee Minutia, we're going to be talking about 1987's Batteries Not Included. So this is about an elderly couple in New York City living in a depressed part of town, run a diner, as well as an apartment building, which is home to poor people, but they're a friendly group of poor people. And one day they learn that the property developer, how does this sound familiar, wants to sell the apartment. So when they refuse, their diner is vandalized. However, Frank and Faye and their tenants are aided by a mysterious group of flying saucers, which will help them repair the diner and fight back.
Oh,
I'm really looking forward to this film.
Yes, sirree. I saw this quite a long time ago. It's been a while, but some of the cast in this are Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy, who was driving Miss Daisy, their real life husband and wife team, whose careers go way back to the days of radio. And Matt, do you know who Elizabeth Pena is, or was?
Yeah, of course.
Oh my goodness! So Elizabeth Pena was the exotic Latin woman who was in Cyndi Lauper's very first movie, Vibes, with Jeff Goldblum. And she wants to kill Jeff Goldblum. That was my first exposure, honk, to Elizabeth Pena. She's in this movie, and she was in a one-season wonder on network television. I implore you to go look up I Married Dora, because her character was an immigrant who married her boss for a green card when, in a period of conservative politics. Of course, that show's going to get canceled.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I think that Cyndi Lauper would have enjoyed Elizabeth Pena actually killing Jeff Goldblum in Vibes, because she said that he was one of the hardest people to work with she's ever come across.
Oh, that could be taken so many ways.
This was taken in a bad way. In fact, it's too bad. If Vibes, never. I won't. No, let's.
That'll be.
I'll tell you about that later.
Right, that'll be the after hours blue show.
Yeah.
So, all righty. Well, we're gonna get this car started here, and we gotta head home because they still have a curfew.
Hey, we're ready. Get over here.
We're we still got a curfew in this town. That probably should have been in the other order. Oh, and we forgot to mention, our next episode will be released on... this episode will be released on Friday, October 4th.
Yay.
So our next episode, which if I turn and look at a calendar... Our next episode will be released on Friday, October 18th. So just in time for the all creatures dark and spooky.
And long enough for people to send me birthday cards and stuff too. Just saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, signing off. Thank you for listening to Matinee Minutia.
Our episodes are released on the first and third Fridays of most months.
View our recording sessions on YouTube.
Find our group on Facebook.
Follow us on X at Matinee Minutia.
Participate in the discussion on our Discord.
And email us at matineeminutia@gmail.com.